Hey, I'm Jake from the Fireside Tattoo Network, and this is our Memphis podcast series. So, what is a Memphis podcast series? Imagine for a minute if you were thinking of maybe relocating to tattoo in a new town, or maybe just doing a guest spot in a new town, and you had the opportunity to pick the brains of some of the more established artists in that town. What kind of questions might you ask them? Maybe questions about the clientele, the tattoo culture, shop environment, things like that. Well, we thought that might be a fun basis for a series of podcasts, so that's what we're doing here. We started in Memphis because it's our hometown and we know a lot of tattooers in the area and we already have a good feel for the culture. It's kind of like our beta version of this. But if you think that your town might be a good candidate for a series like this, shoot us an email at info@firesidetats.com, let us know why, and maybe we'll make your town the next stop. If you have any questions for Memphis tattooers, feel free to send those to the same address. Thank you guys, as always, for supporting what we do. Ready? Can I clap? Yep. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, the official podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Go to tattooimprovement.com, and I got it right that time, very first try. Don't go to fireside.com. Go to tattooimprovement.com and sign up for our mailing list to get up-to-date financial news. And no, I don't have anything else to say. I'm here with Angela Russell, and if Angela's name sounds familiar to you, it's because we've probably talked about her a bunch of times on the show over the years. Okay. I'm sure.
All right.
I know we have. Haven't we? We've mentioned Angela on the show. So Angela and Angela owns Underground Art, where I worked from, like late 2001, early 2002, up until a year or two ago, up until 2015. So for a long time. Most of my tattooing was done under her guidance.
Under my roof.
Under her roof. And so we're going to continue on with the Memphis podcast series. And if you don't know what it's about, well, you will know what it's about because we dropped that intro on the front of it, right? Are we doing that on the front of every one of these? Okay. Well, then I'm not going to tell you what it's about. But it's about Memphis tattooers, Memphis tattoo culture. I won't go any further than that. But let's start, though, before we start talking about Memphis specifically. And we don't want to start throwing any, jabs at anybody. We'll try to keep it friendly as we can.
Okay, jab free. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
unless you just feel like you need to throw jabs. But the reason I thought about that is because I was about to ask you about getting started in, opening a shop in Memphis in the early, 92?
93. Mm-hmm.
So 93.
Yep.
And being a lady opening a shop in Memphis in 93. And I've heard,
true.
I know, I've got a pretty good idea of everything or not everything, but of kind of how some of the difficulties that you face. But will you kind of go through a little bit what it was like starting a shop? Well, maybe start off with why you started a shop, because we didn't tell the viewers, but you're not a tattooer.
I am not a tattooer. That's true. Actually, Mouse was around.
Yeah.
So
okay.
There was another lady.
That's right. There was another lady.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So my story started with a guy that I was dating, and and tattooing sort of being in a renaissance at that time, and those two things collided, and I ended up with a tattoo shop.
Really? Is that for real?
Yeah, that kind of is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the guy. Okay, so I think I know who the guy was.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No jabs.
No
just
jabs.
A guy.
And so it was. So was it really just the two of you that decided?
It was the two of us. We had some outside help from a guy that was at Aces and Eights.
I got my first tattoo there.
Yeah, and we quickly found David and Ben Wallenborn, and then Joel, and so.
So it was, and you started in the space that you're in right now.
Yep.
Which was probably not, as cool and trendy as it was as it is now.
No, it was rougher.
Yeah.
There was no valet parking in Cooper Young.
All right.
So
what was the What was the kind of reaction from other local shops, other tattooers? Do you feel like that you were because the one thing is that you were trying to take a kind of a custom approach to
Right.
tattooing. Everyone could draw.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
the difference.
Yeah, there the other shops, and this is not a jab, but this is just the way that it was at that time. The other shops were mostly biker.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not unusual to go into a shop and also see 4 or 5 motorcycles lined up somewhere inside the building.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be the first custom shop. And that was really, I didn't have much to go on. I just knew that was kind of what I wanted to do.
Where did you get the idea that was a thing that was happening, custom tattooing?
I think at the time it was right when, Guy was happening. Aaron Kane, those guys had all sort of started to hit the scene. There were a lot more tattoo magazines that were less outlaw biker and more, international art. And it was just there was just this whole renaissance that was happening, and Memphis didn't have anything like that. And I thought
you were just
it.
Did the guy kind of see that, or were you following tattooing at that point?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he saw that. I was sort of following tattooing. There was an artist in town that I thought was doing something that other people weren't really doing.
Who was that?
He's long gone. He's another person who.
What was this? I mean,
Mike Lewandowski. I don't know.
I don't know if I ever knew him.
Yeah, I think he's in jail now.
Where was he? Where was he tattooing?
He was with a guy named Bear.
Okay.
There were a lot of animal names.
Yeah, a lot of animals. Yeah.
And so he was actually really good, and it kind of that's when I sort of started to become more aware of what was going on out in the world. And so, like I said, Memphis didn't have that.
Yeah.
So
did David learn or know Bear in some way?
No,
am I making that up?
I think you are. Yeah,
Okay.
David did learn under I don't know who. I don't know the guy's name, but it wasn't
Okay.
Bear for sure.
Okay. All right. For some reason, I've heard him talk. I feel like I've heard him talk about Bear. I mean, did Bear work at Mouse's?
Bear had its own place. He and Mouse
Okay.
may have been together at some point, but I know he had his own place out on the same strip where she was. Just kind of like doing military stuff and.
Yeah.
You know.
So were you just completely discounted by street shops, biker shops at that point, or did they like recognize that you were trying to do something unique?
We were firebombed by a shop, so I don't know if that's discounted.
Yeah. Do you know who did that
I
to you?
have a feeling. Yeah, I have a feeling.
And not because you opened up on someone's toes, like up against their shop or
Right.
a block away, just because it was in the same town.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We were. That's the only thing I can. Yeah, it was pretty hard to get a foot in the door. I had to do a lot of extra. I just had to make myself bigger and louder than I think I am ordinarily, and just get out there and meet people and go to conventions, and that's kind of how we got a lot of really fantastic artists to come and do guest spots early on, and that kind of helped put us on the map.
That's the thing. Whenever I first was, I mean, I came around underground pretty early. Probably 94, 95 was when I first came around to get not tattooing even at that time, but getting pierced or whatever it was. I was just out of high school, so, and that was the first thing that I remember was.
You know just what to say.
Sorry, but I was. That's the first thing that I remember noticing were the guest artists that were coming through. And the only way that I knew anything about them is that I would show up and sit in the lobby and flip through and be like, "Hey, this guy's coming." And you'd flip through the portfolio and be like, "That doesn't even look like tattoos to me. Like that's not what I recognize as tattoos."
Yeah.
And it's funny. I talked to we did a show with Marcy Mulkinthan a couple of years ago now, but she still says back at that point, like when you talked about the convention circuit, there was like Guy coming from Deluxe coming from the Chicago area. There was Underground in this area. There was Randy Muller in this area, but it was like there were so few that she could name on one hand the number of like people that were introducing this to this part of the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about being a part of that at that time. I mean, looking back at it now, you're like, God, look at all this guys. I mean, that's some of the best tattooers ever.
Right. Yeah.
It is.
It is crazy.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a photo. I think it's on the website, actually, on y'all's website. Of Guy sitting looking through Dimitri's portfolio on a front porch.
Right.
Just like, and Guy looks like a kid, and Dimitri looks like looking over a guy's shoulder,
Yeah.
like hoping he'll say something nice about it or
Yeah,
something like that.
absolutely.
It's just like, how crazy. Look at those two people now. They're like cornerstones of like international tattooing.
Yeah.
And to see them sitting on the front porch in Memphis
Absolutely.
flipping through a portfolio as kids is nuts. I should put that, remind me before this episode goes live, and let me try to grab a screenshot of that so we can put it up, because I know everybody would love to see it. So why do you think you were firebombed for real? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I really don't know. I really don't. I mean, there just were not a lot of shops, and the couple shops that were close-ish to us were very, they were still kind of steeped in that biker thing that was going on. That's the only thing I can think. I think we were not welcome.
Yeah.
And when we first opened, we resonated with Memphis, I guess, because we were super busy and people came to us and we were nice and we made people feel at ease in a way that some of those other shops did not. And I think maybe
Yeah.
pissed
And
some
we're
people off.
probably because that's something that I see just now kind of coming into its own whenever I go to other cities or I like pay attention to how people are interacting with clients at conventions and things like that, is that it's taken 20 some odd years past that for it to really start to become more of a boutique salon type experience. You guys were trying to do that way earlier than probably like maybe too early, because it was like not it was so far before its time to treat people like to not bully people and to not be intimidating. That a lot of shops are still struggling with that idea. Like
we actually get a lot of business because we're nice to people, which I think is like also we're the artists are great, but part of it is that we're nice, which is fairly simple to do.
And David and I, when David was on the show regularly, we talked about it 100 times about how much bedside manner really matters. Just like paying attention to someone, asking them questions, making them feel at ease, not intimidating them during the consultation process. Like that's, we've had tattooers at Underground. We were just talking about one last night. That it's just like someone comes with their idea and they're like, yeah, you can't do that.
That's dumb.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Can't do that.
I mean, it was different when there were 3 shops in town. Then you
Yeah.
could kind of treat people however you wanted to, I guess.
Yeah.
But now it's a flooded market. And, aside from being good, you also need to kind of not be an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you see, so fast forward now to 2017, and we've got a lot more custom shops, a lot of good tattooers in Memphis. Quite
absolutely.
a few really good tattooers. Do you feel like that there's still a complete divide? Because those shops that you're talking about still exist down
kind
somewhere.
of.
They're still around.
They're around.
But it's almost like the two cultures don't interact at all. Do you think that, or do they? But do I miss it?
No, I feel like there's definitely a divide. It seems like I think the thing that is so divisive is that when we came onto the scene, if we hadn't had kind of an old school tattooer helping us, I don't know where we would have gotten to, because nobody shared information. And now it's the information age, and everybody kind of is working to make the whole industry better. And there's still these little pockets of that, not sharing information and not. Yeah. And so I think that's where the divide is.
Yeah.
And
that's pushed back. It's funny how the more that tattooing makes its way into the information age, the harder that a lot of people push back. And to me, it's rarely the best tattooers, the best artists that are pushing back. Right. It's the ones that are scared to death to lose they may not know they're scared to death to lose their jobs. They think they're like protecting their craft, but that's a joke. They're not protecting their craft at all.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, there's no. I feel the same way, and we've talked about it on all 3 shows that we've done. That kind of like you can almost see a clear divide. There are. What Nathan was saying, I was asking this last night. What was Nathan saying? There were 50 some odd shops in Memphis. Did you know that?
Oh no, I had no idea.
I can name 8, 10 maybe. I can't name very many.
Idea.
But the ones that you can name, to me, and I don't, and I hate for it to sound like if we don't know who you are, then you're not any good. But when you've been in one town doing tattoos for so long, and you see so many heavily tattooed people come and go, and you're like, and I can recognize whether they're from Underground, whether not just people, like obviously if David does a tattoo, I see the tattoo, I know that David did it.
Sure.
But I know that about Ben Reese.
Yeah.
I know that about Tony Max. I know that about Paul. I know it about, like I can look at most people and go like, oh, I bet I can name, if you gave me 2 guesses, I can tell you who did that tattoo.
Right, absolutely.
But that's only a handful of shops.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're kind of in a little pocket and looked at as being snooty.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably the case.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think that there are enough people to go around, and some people don't mind that sort of, they don't mind an experience that doesn't involve a lot of proactive work. I think they want to be able to just go in and pick something out and get the tattoo and not have to wait. And that's fine. There are shops. There are shops for everyone.
Yeah.
I have seen some really amazing work come out of some kids in Memphis that are in shops that I think, you need to get out of there. I mean, nothing against that shop and what they're doing. Clearly, people are enjoy what they're doing, but these kids are not going to get better in that environment. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough thing with. I was just writing a blog post on like how to tips for getting an apprenticeship, because they're so much harder to get these days. And that was one of the things that I was trying to brainstorm on how to verbalize it. But it's, if you can draw and you put yourself you're willing to settle for a less than ideal situation. It's just so hard to make up that ground because especially in tattooing, you start learning bad habits from people that don't make good tattoos. It doesn't matter how well you draw once you have those habits, they're so hard to get rid of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about your clientele from 2000? I don't know, maybe not 2000 or like 97 to 2017. Do you feel like Memphians know what they're looking for more? They're more educated, more willing to spend money, not as much bargain shopping. Shopping.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we've been there for so long, and we've got such a big clientele, and I think our clients talk to other people and to kind of coach them about what to expect, and not just if they come to us, but any shop. Like look through the portfolios. You're going to have to make an appointment. If you can just walk in and get a tattoo, there may be a chance that it won't be the best tattoo. And so I think that we educate our clients, and then they in turn sort of go out and spread the gospel. Yeah, yeah.
How much of that do you think has to do with like the local tattooers doing it, or TV shows helping along those lines, or information on whatever? Like I can't tell you how many. Since I've been looking at images on Pinterest. Pinterest is the best image thing in the world. Not for not like pulling up tattoos, but to pull up real photos.
Sure.
It's so good, so much better than Google Images.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but I'll start going down this road, and there'll be tattoo pain charts and crazy stuff like that. I'm like, who? Like a one size fits all. This hurts the worst, and this hurts the least, kind of thing. So I wonder how much people were influenced by those. By online information.
I feel like we have to do there's a lot of sort of dissemination out there, and we struggle against ideas that people get in their heads from whatever they've learned on the internet.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who told you about that, but that's absolute garbage. And it's hard. I mean, they just they study or do research or whatever online, and some of it is good information, and some of it is terrible. I don't watch any of the shows, not because I wouldn't, but I just don't, and so I don't really know what they're doing.
I hadn't watched any of them until this season. I started watching Ink Master because I felt like as someone that talks about tattoos every week, I should have an idea of who's doing what and what people are learning in other places, and it's built around drama like every reality show.
Right.
But the critiques, I think, are interesting. I think the guys that do the critiques on that show are at least seasoned tattooers.
Yeah.
I don't always agree with their critiques, but I think that they're, at least they're using a language that, and I notice my clients using that language or recognizing if I say something like, oh yeah, I've heard, I know that, I know that what that means or whatever. But the one thing that I notice more than anything is they bring styles to me that I don't know the names of. They're like, do you do any what was trash polka? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember having to look that up. What does
trash
that
mean?
Polka?
Like, there must have been a trash polka challenge on the show.
Right.
That's my guess.
Who came up with that?
I don't know. I don't know. But there's, I don't know, there are a ton of those now, a ton of like sub-styles that I don't know the names of that my clientele has to educate me on.
Right.
But,
It would probably behoove us to maybe watch every
watch
now
it.
and then, just
Yeah.
so that we're not having to like.
At least there are good tattooers on it now, and I was
Yeah,
I was so turned off to the idea of an ink master show whenever they put out a first couple of seasons, and I looked at the names, and I didn't know any name on there. It's like, I know a lot of people, if you're going to call them masters,
Right.
that you should have on this show.
Absolutely.
But I guess it took them that long to convince great tattooers that they were legitimate enough to entertain the idea. And now they do have really, really solid tattooers. You know who's on this time? The guy, DJ Tomby, that Nico works with at Bad Apple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
that's
he
rad.
is awesome. He's the best tattooer on the show. He's really, really good.
Okay.
And another girl you might follow named Erin Chance. She works with Teresa Sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
She's on.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's really good, too. So there's some really good tattooers on there.
Right.
Nico Hurtado's shop. He's not on it, but his shop was on it. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm not trying to do ink master hats, but I'm just saying there are some decent artists on there now,
Sure.
and so and I don't know that they were bad artists before. I just didn't watch them because I didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
So what about holding on, or like bringing in talent, holding on to tattooers? Whenever you started, you were the only custom shop in town, so it was probably a lot easier to like either bring someone in and develop someone that could draw well, or bring a good tattooer from a street shop. Was it ever easy to bring
It's
people?
never been easy. And I don't feel like it's ever been easy. Because, well, I mean, you have to have an artist. If you're bringing in someone who doesn't tattoo, you have to have an artist who's willing to apprentice, which is a lot of work. And, you know, and so that's something that fortunately David has been willing to do several times. But as far as bringing someone in, it's just, I don't know, it's harder than it seems like it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we are such a tight-knit group that you have to be both talented and fit, and that doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and that's probably an issue at a lot of shops. Definitely Underground is a very, not just a tight-knit group, but a very small place to work,
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Like the drawing room is kind of shoulder to shoulder, so you need to be able to live together.
Get along. You have to be able to get along.
Yeah, and that's tough to find. I wonder why that's always been such a challenge. And you bring up apprentices and how it's hard to find someone that wants to apprentice. But we have literally thousands of people that want to apprentice that are constantly sending. But explain the difference between people that think they want to apprentice and people that actually will go through.
I
an
maybe
apprenticeship.
misworded. There are lots of people who want to apprentice, but as far as people who are actually willing to put in the time, who have a decent portfolio, those are things that don't always. I think I think they think they can draw and they'll come in and they'll just go, you know, and that's not the case. And it's hard to find someone who's willing to stick it out.
When like the newness wears off and the excitement wears off.
Right. Or they're not getting the accolades they thought they would right off the bat. That's kind of a thing. Like maybe they were the greatest artist in
their high school.
Yeah, their high school or college or whatever, and now they're having to start at the very beginning, and as if, you know, it's square one basically, and that's a lot of people are not into that.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing I'll say for David, who is literally has the patience of a saint for
really
all
does.
of for all the people that he's trained over the years that I've known him, but he puts you kind of through the gamut. I mean, there are no days off. You're going to draw flash,
absolutely,
and then redraw flash, and then change it, and then and you're probably not going to touch tattoo machine for a long time. But you know, there's the flip side to that. We were hearing not too long ago of a shop in the Bartlett area that had one 3-year veteran tattooer who had 3 or 4 apprentices, and that was it. It was one dude that had been tattooing 3 years, which in my mind is still an apprentice.
Right, absolutely.
And with 3 or 4 people that were apprenticing under him, and they were all tattooing. They all had stations. So
that's a thing that has happened.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, not to run off on a tangent, but we get blasted for sharing information or offering courses to help people not tattoo but better, but to solve drawing problems that are related to tattoos.
Right.
And they feel like if you don't, and they're blasting tattoo schools, which in my mind haven't been around long enough for us to have an opinion on. You know, I don't know what a tattoo school can or can't do, and we haven't given them a chance. But they like hold on to apprenticeships like they're the be all end all. But that's the difference. Like, there's an apprenticeship with David where you're going to draw flash for a year and a half, and there's an apprenticeship where the dude that's teaching you's been tattooing for 2 years, and he just needs a warm butt in a seat.
Right.
And he's going to give you the cheapest machine that he built himself.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of that.
There's no rhyme or reason to the quality of an apprenticeship. Yeah. So.
I mean, we have people come in who say that they've apprenticed for a year with a portfolio that is just abysmal sometimes, and it's like, I don't know who. Yeah. When you say apprentice.
Right. Can we meet the mentor? I don't believe he exists.
Are you paying? Because that's not good.
Yeah. So, all right, what about kind of, I know we talked about the kind of divide between shops. What about inner relationships between shops? Like, say, like, whatever, the Trilogy, No Regrets, 42, a handful of the other shops that are putting out nice work that do you feel like that overall it's a supportive community? Do you feel like everyone kind of ignores each other? Do they bash each other? What do you? I
don't get a lot of bashing. I feel like it's fairly supportive. It's more supportive now than I think it's ever been.
Yeah.
We have, of course, a special connection to No Regrets because of Paul and Tony. And so, they run out of something, we lend it. If we run out of something, they lend it. So that's, and, I think it's pretty supportive. I think everybody's so busy just trying to keep things going that there's not just a ton of sort of, mingling. But when we do run into one another, it's friendly.
Everyone's friendly.
Enough, yeah. The guys at 42 helped us with our last big benefit in a really crazy way.
Huh.
And they just threw themselves into it and were super helpful and really kind. And so.
And that's one thing that I notice about Underground in particular. I don't know so much about the other shops, is that you jump into for a cause. Like when Joe at No Regrets had an accident, there was a benefit that at Underground that we tattooed for Joe. Am I making that up, or that
we gave a lot of things,
stuff for it. Yeah. So that's what it was. We did. Did I donate? Oh yeah. That's what I was thinking. We did a benefit for it. We donated tattoo time.
Everybody did.
To something, and then we did tattoo. Yeah. So it wasn't like a benefit, but we donated to. So I. So it's always seemed to me, and I don't know if it's because I'm oblivious a lot, but I feel like I never have any trouble with any. I feel like everyone's supportive.
Yeah.
Anytime I meet anyone, they're always friendly.
Yeah,
they always
friendly.
Want to see what I've been working on, or see what they've been working on. And I've been going around lately whenever we're doing workshops and things like that, and passed out flyers, and everyone's been super talkative, and so I don't know. It seems supportive to me.
Yeah, I like it. It certainly wasn't like that at the beginning, but I think it's a lovely thing that's happened over time for sure.
What about the outside of Memphis, the shop? So we're seeing, like, we were talking about that kind of boutique thing happening with tattoo shops where it's becoming more. Someone recently was telling me was giving me some numbers that I can't remember, so I won't make them up, but about the number of women that are getting into tattooing as a profession as opposed to men, like licensing year over year, and the women are like doubling up guys that are being licensed, which doesn't surprise me. And the number of younger people getting tattooed, women to men that want to get tattooed. Far more women want to be tattooed than men, and younger women want to be tattooed by women. So to me, that all lends towards a boutique kind of more salon experience, a way less intimidating experience.
Sure.
So what does that mean to a shop owner, like, moving forward? Because you have to think, like, your building is an old building, like we've dealt with it for years. We've repainted, we've let's put a new couch in or whatever.
Jacked it up.
Jacked it up, right? So do you feel like at some point you lose ground because do you feel like you have to keep up in ways outside of just putting out great work and being friendly to people?
Us specifically, or in general?
In general, well, both. Yeah.
More than being friendly and putting out good work?
Yeah. Do you feel like that when someone walks in the door, like they judge you? Thinking about the clientele and their mindset now, do they walk in and they judge you because they still have carpet in their lobby?
Right. That's distinctly possible. I think that we are able to. It's such a sort of warm, inviting place that is what we have when we don't. It's not like super shiny and polished, and that is something that's sort of in our plan is to get out of that space and get into a bigger space. But right now, we do have to work a little bit harder, I think, to make people feel welcome. And I think that's the edge that we have. because there is a thing that can happen where it's so polished that people are intimidated, and so I think there's got to be a happy medium between those two things.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that we haven't really faced that, and I don't go in a lot of shops, but as a matter of fact, I've never been in Trilogy since they remodeled it. But I've been in Novogratz a handful of times.
Sarah just went to Trilogy and got tattooed.
Oh, really?
Yep.
By who?
I don't know.
Huh.
She went to get tattooed by Cole and then ended up getting tattooed by whomever was available.
Really?
Yeah.
What brought that on?
I don't really know. I don't know. I think I don't know.
Oh,
She's like,
crazy.
oh, well, I'm here. I might as well just do this.
Huh. Crazy.
I know.
But in other towns that we go to, we walk into shops and I go like, oh, wow, I'm
Right.
like, this is really impressive. Like,
Yeah,
I got to step up my game. Like, if I were tattooing in your town, nobody would come see me because I've got like, I mean, and where I'm tattooing is pretty nice, but it's not like a lot of these shops that we're
Right.
going in now. And I just wonder if like, as with you not having, well, don't mean not having to focus on tattooing, but not tattooing specifically. Like
Right.
you're thinking with a more of a top-down approach. I just wonder if that weighs on you at all. If it's something you feel like you have to deal with.
Not so much in this town. I don't feel like we have a whole lot of like super hyper boutique type of places here that we're having to contend with. I think that, like I said, that is sort of a goal. I definitely would like. I mean, some of those shops I see and I think I can't imagine what it. The cost of like, I don't just have millions of dollars to dump into a building.
You wonder about some of these shops.
Yeah, I really do. Waterfalls and like, I don't know. I don't want to have to always be paying for that into the future, that fancy building. But I definitely, it's something I would like to do is, bigger space, cleaner. And so until then, we concentrate on being a welcoming environment. So,
yeah, awesome. All right, we'll wrap it up. But I want to. I always ask everyone if they take guest artists. I know that they take guest artists because I worked there for 15 years. So if you were interested in tattooing in Memphis and checking the town out, so some of the advantages to living tattooing in Memphis, as opposed to other towns, is that you can make a good living and actually afford to live like close to where you work, which is
true.
really
Absolutely.
unique. That doesn't happen in a lot of towns. And there are tons of people getting tattooed, it seems like. So, there's plenty of business. So, and Underground is one of the places that you can go in, sit down, and probably, like, without being a huge name and probably get some business, get some walk-ins, and do some tattoos. So, if you go to makingmamaproud.com, and you can probably get contact information.
Absolutely.
To Mama with an O, makingmamaproud.com.
Or undergroundartmemphis.com, too, will work.
Does that work, too? What happened with...
I have them both. But
okay. It used to just be undergroundart.com, and then you lost that somehow.
Did it? I don't know. It was something. It was something else weird.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't Underground Art?
I think it was attached to like Earthlink, if you remember that.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Also, Nico will be here in September.
Nico Rasan, who's been on the show before, will be here in September, and this show will be out before that. So if nothing else, you can come get tattooed by Nico. He's real good. He tattoos with DJ Tomby, who's on Ink Master.
Awesome.
And also, obviously David tattoos there. So if you'd like to spend some time with David, and you should reach out to Angela. Look at doing a guest spot. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
it's
thank
always
you for
good.
having me.
I can't believe 4 years, and this is the first time you've been on the show.
It's the first time you've asked me.
That's probably not true. I can't imagine that. It's you should be my co-host.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Stan.
Angela's our new co-host. We'll see you guys next time. TattooImprovement.com. Really painless, huh?